Hare Krishna. Let us start. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome back to Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. We have completed 8 chapters till now. So we are going to start now chapter 9. So after completing chapter 9, we would have done the Gita halfway through, like the 9 chapters. There are total 18 chapters. So 9 chapters would be completed. So we have made so much progress in just few weeks. So I'm very happy that we are on chapter 9 now. And chapter 9 is amazing chapter. Just look at the name of the chapter, the most confidential knowledge. So it's not just some knowledge, spiritual knowledge. It is just not some confidential knowledge. It is not even more confidential knowledge. It is the most confidential knowledge. You see, if someone wants to actually share some information, and if he says that, oh, I have to tell you some information, then okay, some interest will be there, little bit, but it is not a lot. But if someone starts saying, hey, I'm going to share with you a secret, then suddenly our curiosity is suddenly awakened. And then we are thinking, oh, what could be that secret? But if someone says that I'm going to give you the most confidential secret that of my life, then our curiosity is at the peak. We want to know what exactly is that secret. So suppose a billionaire um, advertises saying that I'm going to give a 10-minute talk. And the 10-minute talk is going to cover the most important and the secret method to become a billionaire. Now imagine how much with a concentration we will be hearing that 10-minute talk. And that is only for some material $1 billion, which we cannot even take with us from one life to another. But here, Lord Shri Krishna is going to give us the most confidential spiritual knowledge about himself. So this will be very, very important for all of us to be very, very attentive and hear this chapter. So Srila Prabhupada has named this as the most confidential knowledge. And in Sanskrit, this is called Raja Vidya Rajaguhya Yoga. Raja Vidya Rajaguhya Yoga. And this chapter has 34 verses. And why is it called most confidential knowledge? Because it is not that it is the first time Lord Shri Krishna is going to talk about himself. He has already given a lot of transcendental knowledge. Chapter 4 was transcendental knowledge. Even starting from chapter 2, when he started talking about we are not this body, we are spirit soul. That's also spiritual knowledge, that's confidential knowledge. So our acharyas explain that this knowledge which was given in chapter 2 and 3, that which was a knowledge about the difference between the spirit and the body, the material and the spiritual bodies that we have. And that is confidential knowledge. Then in the chapter 7 and 8, where the Bhakti Yoga process started to be explained properly, that is more confidential knowledge. Because it is good to know that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. And that is confidential, that is spiritual knowledge, and it is a confidential spiritual knowledge. Because not everyone knows about it, right? That most of the people they act in a way that they are considering them to be these bodies. very few people know that we are not this body, but we are spirit soul. So it is definitely a confidential spiritual knowledge. But is that enough? Knowing that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. Yeah, okay. Like I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul. But what should I do now about it? I know what activities I need to do for my body. But if we do not explain what kind of activities we have to do for the spirit soul, then just knowing that I am not this body, I am the spirit soul is hardly of any use. And that kind of knowledge is being given in chapter 7 and 8 because it is mainly talking about Bhakti Yoga. So now that you know that you are not this body, you are spirit soul, so you should know what kind of activity is most beneficial for you, which is the process of Bhakti Yoga. And that is why chapter 7 and 8, the knowledge in that is more confidential knowledge than just by knowing uh, as compared to this chapter 2 and 3, where it was mentioned that we are not this body, but the spirit soul. So that knowledge is confidential. The knowledge of bhakti, which is given in chapter 7 and 8, is more confidential, but this one is the most confidential knowledge. Why? Because as I have mentioned before in the previous sessions as well, Bhagavad Gita is not promoting and saying that we should follow Bhakti Yoga. Bhagavad Gita is promoting and asking us to follow the path of Ananya Bhakti, unalloyed devotional service. Bhakti Yoga is okay. It is, we should try to do, but it is not, it is mixed with some karma, jnana, and other things. But Krishna doesn't want that kind of Bhakti Yoga. He is promoting the best, the highest, the most confidential, which is the Ananya Bhakti, the unalloyed devotional service. And this chapter, chapter 9, is explaining this unalloyed devotional service. That is why it is the most confidential knowledge. So let us look at what we are going to see in this most confidential knowledge. And and before we go ahead, what is the connection between this chapter 8 that we saw just now and chapter 9? So in chapter 8, Krishna has explained that Ananya Bhakti surpasses the path of light and darkness. We were talking in the last section of chapter 8 that how the yogis have to actually look for and follow all these rules and regulation to leave their body, that it has to be in light, it has to be the period of where the sun is moving in the northern hemisphere, and all of those fiery gods period, all of that needs to be looked at. And then if you do not do that, then you just go to the heavenly planet and then come back to this material world. But then he said that for devotees, you don't have to worry. It doesn't matter whether it is night or day, or it is Uttarayan or Dakshinayan. It doesn't matter. All these rules are uh, doesn't matter to the devotees. So Krishna has already explained that how Ananya Bhakti, like the devotee who is following the Ananya Bhakti process, he surpasses all these other yogis. And in the last verse of chapter 8, he has specifically said that the Bhakti yogi gets the result of all other paths and more. So obviously now someone will ask, hey, that is good that this Ananya Bhakti that you're talking about and this Ananya Bhakti yogi is the highest, but tell me more about this. How do you do this Ananya Bhakti? What is this Ananya Bhakti? So give me some specific knowledge about this unalloyed devotional service. So that is how this chapter is now talking about Ananya Bhakti. And it is quite interesting that chapter 7 that we saw and chapter 9 that we are going to see, they are very, very similar. They cover quite a lot of shared themes. In fact, they are like parallel chapters. Most of the things which was covered in chapter 7, or most of the themes which are covered in chapter 7 are also covered in chapter 9. So actually, chapter 7 and 9 are continuation. In between, if you remember, at the end of chapter 7, Krishna spoke about some particular terms. And then Arjuna asked this question that, please explain to me about these 8 things that you have talked about. And then Lord Shri Krishna explained this chapter 8. But now that those questions are answered and that discussion is over, so Lord Shri Krishna is now again going back to that original discussion that he was doing in chapter 7. So chapter 7 and 9 are like continuation. Chapter 8 was just like a tangent in between where Arjuna asked some question. That is why Krishna answered it. And now he's going back to the topic, the original topic that he was having. So that is how you can see that there are quite a lot of similarities. So let us look at some of these similarities which are there. So there are shared themes between chapter 7 and 9. So just like in the beginning of chapter 7, Lord Shri Krishna was glorifying about how hearing from him is very important. Similarly, here as well, we can see in the beginning of chapter 9, he glorifies hearing and emphasizes on it. Then there is a second theme of relationship between Krishna and the material energy, commercial nature. It was there in chapter 7, and we will see today, like these first 2 things, 9.1 to 9.10, we'll try to cover today, and we will see these 2 themes. But then it also, there are further parallel themes which are there. Krishna's potency manifested within matter, how it is manifested, that is explained in 7 and 9. Then it was demigod worship and Krishna worship. That was explained in chapter 7. We can see that in chapter 9 as well, that is mentioned. And then there is also a comparison between impersonalists versus devotees in chapter 7. And we will see that here in chapter 9 as well. So somebody will think that, okay, if there are so many similarities between chapter 7 and 9, then why chapter 7 was not called most confidential knowledge? Why chapter 9 is called most confidential knowledge? It is because only chapter 9 talks about the unalloyed devotional service. And we will see that quite repetitively in chapter 9. So let us start looking at chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge. Let us look at verse number 1. The most confidential knowledge. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tute guhyatamam pravakshamyanusuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajñatva mokshase shubhat. Yes, Sannivas Prabhuji. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Okay, Lavanga
The
Mataji.
Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence.
Thank you, Mataji. So, Lord Shri Krishna is saying now in this, my dear Arjuna, because you are not envious of me. Very important. And we will talk a little bit about it. I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge. So he has said clearly. So we are not making things up. He's saying, Idam tute guhyatamam. Guhyatamam he is mentioned. So it is not that Srila Prabhupada had just named it, okay, the most confidential knowledge. No, no. Lord Shri Krishna is saying, I'm going to talk about Guhyatamam. So Guhya means confidential. Guhyatar means more confidential. And Guhyatama, it is like superlative, the most confidential knowledge. And we already discussed about it, why it is most confidential, because it is going to give us the knowledge of unalloyed devotional service, Ananya Bhakti. So, idam tute Guhyatamam. Pravakshame anasuyave. Anasuyave means you are not envious of me. So I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. And this most confidential knowledge is not just theoretical knowledge. He's saying it is jnana vijnana sahitam. So that means it is knowledge plus vijnana means it is realized knowledge. So it is not some theoretical knowledge it is going to come. There is some practical knowledge that will come, And by implementing that practical knowledge in our life, we can also realize that, understand and realize that knowledge. So jnana and vijnana is both going to come in this chapter. So what is most confidential? So that is Ananya Bhakti. That will be explained. And what is the qualification for receiving this knowledge? That is also explained in this verse, which is you have to be unenvious, non-envious of Lord Shri Krishna. And why it is important to be non-envious of Krishna? Because I think we were discussing that earlier as well in chapter 4, that when someone is a friend and non-envious of Krishna, then what happens is, if the person is glorified, say suppose you have a very good friend and someone is glorifying that friend with you, then you become very happy and you say that, yes, yes, I know you are saying this, but I will tell you even more glories of my friend, isn't it? Because there is that love and the bonding is there. And we will not become envious if our friend or our some close relative who we love a lot is getting glorified. There is no envy that actually comes at that point. We are not thinking that why this person is glorifying this. But now imagine you don't like a person at all, and then a third person comes and starts glorifying that person, which you don't like. And then you will immediately interrupt him and say that, hey, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the same person that I know? You don't know about this person. And you will start telling him how this person is bad. Why? Because there is that envy that is there, that you don't like that person. There is that envious nature that we have created. And we can see that when Lord Shri Krishna was getting glorified in front of, say, Duryodhana, then he will not be happy. Example of Shishupal is also there. That when Lord Shri Krishna was given this highest position in this Rajasuya Yajna, which is the Agra Puja, who will be worshipped first? So when it was mentioned that Lord Shri Krishna should be worshipped first, which is the highest award or highest recognition in the Rajasuya Yajna, because Rajasuya Yajna had all the kings, all the great personalities on the planet at one place. And amongst them, Lord Shri Krishna was considered and was given this uh, the Agra Puja, or the first worship. And then Shishupal couldn't tolerate it. Shishupal thought, "What are you saying? How can Krishna be the most important person in this entire assembly? No one looked at me." And he started talking about what are the problems or what are the faults of Lord Shri Krishna. And he said, and he started blaspheming one after another, and like that. And when he spoke 100 offenses, he did 100 offenses toward Lord Shri Krishna continuously, then Lord Shri Krishna killed him. So he was Shishupal, Duryodhan, Kamsa. These people are envious of the Lord, and they are not able to tolerate glorification of the Supreme Lord. So that is why Lord Shri Krishna is saying that this confidential knowledge, if you try to give to an envious person, then they will not be able to take it. Because here we are trying to explain unalloyed devotional service to Lord Shri Krishna. So, like putting Krishna in the center and removing everyone else from it. So that is why it is unalloyed devotional service. So that kind of devotional service, people will not be able to tolerate if they have envy in their heart. So Krishna is saying the qualification is someone who is non-envious. Only for them, this most confidential knowledge should be revealed. And he's saying that because Arjuna, you are never envious of me, that is why I am giving you this knowledge. So he's a friend, he's not an envious person. And such people can accept this knowledge. And what is the result if we are non-envious and we receive this jnana and vijnana of Ananya Bhakti? What happens? Then it is mentioned that yajnatva moksha se shubhat, that knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So moksha. So we will be liberated from these material miseries. So we will go back to the spiritual world. So we advance in Krishna consciousness, and then we are relieved of the miseries of material existence. And being non-envious is not the only qualification. There is one more qualification that is mentioned, but that will be seen in verse number 3. So one important point, that a lesson that we can learn from this is about not being envious. It is give up the envy for Krishna and hear more and more about him. That is the way that we can advance in our Krishna consciousness, and that is the way we can relieve our material miseries. And you will say that, oh, actually, I'm not envious of Krishna. See, I'm reading Bhagavad Gita, I'm trying to read most confidential knowledge. But what is this envy that we have? Simple thing is that Krishna is the only enjoyer. Krishna is the only controller. He is the proprietor. He's the cause of everything. But we also, in our heart, we start thinking that I am also an enjoyer, I am a proprietor, I am the controller, and I am also cause of few things. So that means we are competing with Krishna, and that competing nature is like envy that we have. So we have to give up that envy. We have to take Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, our master, and we are his servant. And that when we actually act in that way, then our envy is then given up. And then we can advance in our Krishna consciousness, and we will go back to Godhead. So we have to give up our envy, and then we should hear more and more about him. That is how we can progress. Let us look at now, after explaining that what is the qualification that we require and what is the result that will happen if you. Okay, I'll request that everyone they can remain muted if they are not going to speak, like reading translation or asking questions. So yeah, in the first verse, Lord Shri Krishna has already mentioned that what is the knowledge that he's going to give. It is the most confidential knowledge. He has also given the qualification, and also now he has mentioned that what is going to happen, what is the result of this knowledge. After saying this, in the second verse, he's going to glorify the knowledge. He's setting this context. Before he starts revealing the knowledge, he's going to glorify the knowledge that he's going to give. So let us look at the glorification, the second verse. Raj Vidya Raj Guhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. Yes, Raghavendra Prabhuji or Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed.
Thank you, Mataji. There is a long purport for this verse. I highly recommend that you read this purport. There are 8 glories which are mentioned of this transcendental knowledge, of this most confidential knowledge. Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, Pavitram, Idam Uttamam, Pratyakshaavagamam, Dharmyam, Susukham, and Avyayam. There are 8 words which are mentioned to glorify this knowledge. Let us look at it one by one. So first one, Rajavidya. It is mentioned that it is Rajavidya. Rajavidya means it is king of all knowledge. It is king of education. Because why it is mentioned the Rajavidya or king of education? Because it is essence of all the doctrines and philosophies explained before. Now you understand that in the first session itself, we have talked about how the knowledge of Vedas is so vast, and because we do not have in Kali Yuga time for all of that, then how Vyasadeva has kept on condensing that knowledge, and finally he has condensed it to this Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses. And in 700 verses as well, we saw that there are three sections: first six chapter, then middle six chapter, then the last six chapter. And we looked at how it is like the sandwich where the most important knowledge is within the middle six chapters. And in this middle six chapters as well, you would see this chapter 9 and 10 are the middle two chapters of the middle six chapters. And of that as well, the last verse of 9 chapter is like at the center, which is so important that Krishna has repeated that verse almost verbatim. 9.34 and 18.65. They are almost same verses. So it is the essence, this chapter, the most confidential knowledge is essence of the essence of the essence. So if the Vedic knowledge has to be condensed into one chapter, which is given in this, that is why it is the essence, the king of all knowledge, and especially the last verse that is going to come. It is the essence of all knowledge. And it gives the most highest benefit. That is why it is the king of knowledge. And what is that? What is that most highest benefit? Which is love for Krishna. So it will awaken the love for Krishna within our heart. That is Rajavidya. Then Rajaguhyam. Rajaguhyam means it is most confidential knowledge, which we have already spoken about. So I'll not say that again. Then it is mentioned as Pavitram. Pavitram means it is very pure. So the unalloyed devotional service or pure bhakti, the activities which are done in that, they are completely pure. There is no tinge of anything material in it. That is why it is called Pavitram. And and then it is mentioned that it is Uttamam. Uttamam means it is beyond Uttama. Tama means Tamoguna or the material activities. And Uttama is beyond the material activities. So it is very pure and there is no tinge of any material modes in it. So that is Pavitram Idam Uttamam. And Srila Prabhupada actually in the purport, which I'm recommending you again second time to read it. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning about how why it is called Pavitram and Uttamam. He mentions that the sinful reactions or the papa, it is they are into 4 stages. There are different stages of reactions that we get. And some reactions are fructified, which are called prarabdha. And these are the activities which are causing distress in our life at this point in time. So if we are going through some distress or pain in our life currently, that is because the reactions which are already fructified, it is the fruit of the tree of our activities, and that fruit we are now enjoying or suffering. So that is prarabdha karma. But then there are some reactions which may be just waiting to take effect. So they are called phalonmukha or aprarabdha, phalonmukha. So they are just about to fructify. They are not fructified, but they are in the pipeline. In IT, we call it is on the backlog. It is coming in. So they are not far away from the result. And then there are further reactions which are a little bit more dormant. They are called kuta. And then there are the reactions which are in bija form. So bija means like the seed form, then kuta, then aprarabdha and prarabdha. And Srila Prabhupada explains by giving various references that the devotional service, pure devotional service, can vanquish all the reactions in all 4 stages, whether it is bija, kuta, phalonmukha or prarabdha. All these reactions can be washed away. They can be completely removed. That is why it is pavitram and uttamam. Then it is mentioned Pratyaksha Vagamam. Pratyaksha Vagamam means direct perception of self by realization. So this is not like theoretical knowledge that you have to just believe in, that, okay, somebody is saying, or Srila Prabhupada is saying that this is important, this is what we should do, and we have to keep doing, but we will not get any realization or any understanding of it. It is not like this. It is pratyaksha avagamam. You do little devotional service and you will get some realization. And that is why we always say that chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And we say that, okay, even if you chant just 4 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra for just 1 month, you will get some realization. You will feel at least little peaceful, little happier than what you were before. And because you will feel, you will get that realization in your heart, you would want to do more. You would want to continue chanting. And those who are chanting for a long time, for many years, they can easily vouch for this, that they are much better person than they were before they started chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And it is everyone's experience. And that experience, when we say that it is everyone's experience, that is pratyaksha avagamam. So we have realized it already, that this devotional service process that we are following is pratyaksha avagamam. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it for year after years. There are so many intelligent people, they keep doing this process, keep following this process year after year. It is not because they are just sentimental, they don't have anything to do, that's why they are doing. No, no. They are doing it because it is pratyaksha avagamam. They have actually realized it, and that's why they want to continue doing it. So, just do it. Not for the material activities. We should follow that the slogan line, but we should follow that slogan line for spiritual activities. Just do it. Just do it and experience it yourself. Once you experience it yourself, then you would want to continue doing it for the whole of your life. So, pratyaksha avagamam. And one thing that everyone wants to pratyaksha avagamam is prasadam. Everyone wants to actually eat prasadam and experience it themselves, how transcendental it is, how it is wonderful. And so many people come and talk about that somehow or the other, when you eat some prasadam at, say, suppose at a temple where the deities are worshipped so nicely, there are devotees who are cooking with a lot of devotion and offering it with a lot of devotion. And then that prasadam is, when we eat, we always feel that, wow, I have never eaten such khichdi. Like even some simple prasadam as khichdi, we think that, oh, this was like amazing khichdi. I have never eaten such khichdi anywhere. Or I have eaten laddus everywhere, but this laddu is so nice. This particular dal rice is so nice. And then they will ask, how, what is the way? Like, how do you make this? And then we have to explain that there is a secret ingredient in it. The secret ingredient that is there is the love that we put inside the bhoga, and Krishna has, because Krishna has absorbed that love, Krishna has put his mercy in it, and that mercy you can experience it pratyaksha avagamam when you eat that prasadam. So that is why this knowledge of bhakti yoga is not just theoretical. We do it and we get that realization. And that is why in the first verse as well, Krishna had talked about jnana and vijnana. He's going to say that, okay, just do something simple. He will later on mention about how to worship him, including patram pushpam phalam toyam and all of that. So if you just even some simple process of devotional service to Lord Shri Krishna, we can realize it ourselves, Krishna's presence and our connection with him. Yoga means finally to feel the connection between the soul and the Supreme Lord. And by following this process of Bhakti Yoga, we can feel that connection. We can experience the result by getting connected to the Supreme Lord. So that is Pratyakshavagam. Then it is mentioned, it is Dharmyam, it is perfection of religion. So Srimad Bhagavatam also says that Savaya Pumsa Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Adokshaje. ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So savay pumsa paro dharmo. So what is the highest religion? It is mentioned yato bhaktir adhokshaje. So bhakti to the Supreme Lord, Lord's name is Adhokshaja, Adhokshaja. So to bhakti to the Supreme Lord is the highest dharma. So that is why it is called dharmam. Pratyaksha dharmam. It is perfection of religion. And then it is mentioned susukham. Everyone knows we talked about prasadam eating, that it is so blissful when you eat prasadam. But the other idea is that the bhakti joyfully performed. So we perform bhakti joyfully and we also experience bliss after doing this bhakti. So both the things are there. So when we are saying that we have to perform bhakti joyfully, means suppose if we are doing some service, including chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If we start our day at the morning at 4 o'clock and say that, oh, again, I have to chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra so early in the morning, we are not doing it susukham. Of course, there will still some benefit out of it that we are trying to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra even when we not doing it lovingly, or we are not actually trying to do it in a susukham way. There will still be benefit. But imagine if you're doing it very, very lovingly and very blissfully, that yes, 4 o'clock again, I want to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra today again. Oh, because I was sleeping for 6, 7 hours, I couldn't chant. Now I have woken up, I will chant again. If you actually start doing it like that, there will be much more benefit that we will get for sure. And then pure devotional service, sorry, and then we were talking about that how pure devotional service will bring bliss because it is Sat Chitananda. Everything that is um, related to Krishna is absolute. And just like Krishna is Satchidananda, Bhakti is also Satchidananda. So it will definitely give us Ananda. So we have to do it blissfully. And then by doing that, we will also experience bliss. So both is there. And also it is susukham because it is very easy to perform. What are the ways to perform bhakti? It is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. So simple way that what we have to do is some hearing, then chanting. Simple processes are given. So we talk about just hear, chant, eat prasadam, do deity worship, read scriptures. Simple processes are given. They are not very complicated. Like in Satyuga, you have to stand on one foot for 10,000 years with a raised hand and then chant the same mantra for like again and again. It is not like that. Very simple. Eating prasadam, we say prasada sevaya. Now, who would have thought that eating something is seva? We say prasad seva. Prasada Sevaya, like the prayer that we say, it is Prasada Seva prayer. So it is Susukham. Simple processes are given. And then the last one, the glory which is mentioned is Avyayam. Avyayam means it is eternally everlasting. It is, yeah, it is everlasting. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the translation, it is eternal and it is everlasting. So why it is called Avyayam? There are two reasons why it is called Avyayam. First of all, any result that we get by doing bhakti never can be finished. It is avyayam, it is everlasting. That result cannot be destroyed. It remains with you. That is one. And the process of bhakti is also eternal. It is not that now you are doing bhakti so that you can go to spiritual world and then that is it. We have received our goal, so we can stop our bhakti. No, you do bhakti here and then you go to the spiritual world and you continue doing bhakti there. So that is why it is eternal. It is everlasting. That is how this glory of um, this most confidential knowledge is mentioned in this verse. Tripti Mataji, you have some question? You have your hand up.
Yeah, I have two questions,
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
One is um, in the purport it is mentioned, doctrines and philosophies explained below. Among the principal followers in India are Gautama. So Gautama, if I know, are they referring to Buddha or someone else?
No.
Because he was born much after.
Yeah.
Second question is,
So let me answer that first one.
okay,
No,
okay.
actually, it is the Rishi Gautama is referred here, and there is a doctrine or philosophy that comes from him is there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
What is the
Rishi.
second one?
The second one is these 18th Adhyay chapters names or the names of these Adhyayas have been given by uh, Prabhupada, or it was already there when
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita was written.
Yeah, good question. So when Lord Shri Krishna was speaking the Bhagavad Gita, he was not saying that, okay, now the chapter
Yeah.
1 is finished. Now I'm going to start the chapter 2, which I'm going to name as Sankhya Yoga. Then chapter 2 is finished. Now I'm going to speak the chapter 3, which is Karma Yoga. No, no. He was just speaking continuously. And our Vyasadev, when he wrote Bhagavad Gita, he actually separated those chapters, looking at how they can be sectioned. Like this topic was is emphasized in these verses. Then he's moving on to some other topic, and then moving on to other topic like that. That is how Vyasadev has named and segregated those chapters. And the English names are given by Srila Prabhupada. For example, the Sanskrit name for this chapter was Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga. So he has named it as, based on this Rajaguhya word, the most confidential knowledge. Like that he has mentioned in English. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So let us move on to the third verse now. Now in third verse, Lord Shri Krishna is explaining another qualification that is required for receiving this confidential knowledge. अश्रद्धधाना पुरुषा धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्यु संसार वर्त्मनि. Yes, Parmendra Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Those who are not faithful on the path of devotional service cannot attend me, O conqueror of foes, but return to birth and death in this material world.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So if it is susukham, it is so simple and everything that we are saying about this process of devotional service, then obviously everyone will follow it and one will go back to Godhead. Then why everyone is not going? Is that is mentioned in this verse. That who is not going? It is saying ashraddhadhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. So, ashraddhadhana, those who do not have faith, they will remain here in this cycle of birth and death. This Shraddha is very, very important. This faith that we want to have is very important. This is the beginning. Rupa Goswami explains in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are these multiple stages in which we can attain the devotional service. And the beginning of that is Shraddha, Adho Shraddha. If we have some Shraddha, some faith to hear, then we will do Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha means we will actually, because we have faith, then we will go and want to hear about Krishna from some devotees. Sadhu Sangha will happen. And then the Sadhu Sangha, when it happens, sadhus are going to actually, devotees are going to explain that what we should do, what kind of process, what kind of do's and don'ts we should do. And then that is called Bhajana Kriya. Then after hearing from them, we will start following some process. Like we'll start chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we'll start eating only prasadam, we'll follow 4 relative principles, we'll start reading Bhagavad Gita. This is all Bhajana Kriya. So, Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajana Kriya, then what happens is Anartha Nivrutti. By following this bhajana kriya, all this process that we are doing, then anarthas will go away. Like these anarthas which are there in the heart, they will vanish slowly. So anartha nivritti. And when the anarthas are vanquished from our heart, then what happens is we come to the stage of nishtha. Nishtha is also faith, but it is firm faith. So the beginning, we had this Shraddha, which is very shaking Shraddha, like very little weak faith which is there. But now it becomes firm faith to Nishtha stage. And after Nishtha, then we continue following the process that we were following before, and then we'll develop some taste for it. Like that in the morning, 4 o'clock, we will say, I want to chant. And somehow or the other, I was separated from my chanting. Some taste will come. And then we will go to this level of attraction, ruchi, asakti. So from nishtha, we'll go to ruchi, which is the taste, then asakti, which is the attraction, strong attraction. And then we will go to the stage of bhava and then prema. So prema for Krishna prem is our goal. And this is how we can see where we are in our path. So that prema, which is the highest goal, starts from Shraddha. And that is why Krishna is saying that ashraddha, if you are not having that faith itself, which is the beginning stage, then where is the question of you going any further? Without faith, if you do any of this other path, you read scriptures, of no use. Without faith, you chant Hare Krishna, no use. Without faith, you actually eat some prasadam, hardly any use. So this is what is happening. Like if the faith is not there, it will not work. And we can see that Arjuna and Duryodhana both saw Krishna, but one had faith, one did not have faith. And we can see immediately the difference between the result that they got. Arjuna became a close friend of Krishna, received Bhagavad Gita's knowledge, and then finally, of course, he is a pure devotee, so he was having love for Krishna. But we can say that by that bhakti process, he attained love for Krishna. Whereas Duryodhana, he was envious. He did not have faith in Krishna. He tried to kill Krishna. And then what was his result? He got killed himself. And he remained in the cycle of birth and death. So that is how the difference is there in the results. So Shraddha is required. But what if I do not have Shraddha? So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, like in the second line itself, faith is created by association with devotees. So this is fine that if you do not have Shraddha, or you have very weak faith and you want to increase your faith, by remaining in association of devotees, we can develop that faith. And this is the power of association. Sangata sanjayate kama. So if we actually sangha, if we keep of devotees, then kama, their desires will also come in us. So because they have strong faith in Krishna and Krishna's words and Acharya's words, we will also, by in association with them, we will also develop that strong faith. So just like Srila Prabhupada books that we are associating with, so that is like we are directly associating with Srila Prabhupada, his instructions. We can associate with a devotee in two ways, either in a vapu form, that a devotee is personally present and we are serving the devotee's body, that is the association in vapu form. But the Vani form of the devotee is here in the book. Srila Prabhupada has written for us. So when we are actually reading this with little faith also, we will get benefited. And then we will progress because we are associating with Srila Prabhupada. So when we are associating with Srila Prabhupada, what is going to happen? He has strong faith in Krishna. He has strong faith in Krishna's words. And that will also rub on us. And our weak faith will start growing little by little, and it will also grow very strong. So that is what will happen for us. And we can increase our faith by associating with those who have strong faith. Okay. So what we can learn from this verse, we can see that develop faith for the Lord by associating with devotees regularly. So we should always associate with the devotees regularly, and then that is how we will develop faith. Okay. Now this section 4 to 10. Now after explaining about this, the glories of knowledge, the result of having this knowledge, and the qualification, the two qualifications that we saw. In the first verse, we saw that it was we have to be non-envious of Krishna. And in the third verse, we saw that the second qualification, which is we have to have faith. So with Shraddha and with having this friendly nature of being non-envious to Krishna, then we can actually progress in our devotional service. After this, now Krishna is going to give Aishwarya Jnana. His inconceivable potencies, he will explain now. So let us go to verse number 4. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyaktamurtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitaha. Who wants to read? They're going to actually rush, like move through these verses quite fast. 7 verses. Yes, Surananda Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them.
Now, all these verses are, they will come one after another, at least this 4, 5, 6, 4, 5 at least. They are like very confusing and they are contradictory in a way. And they are contradictory in a way because it is explaining Krishna's inconceivable potencies. It is difficult to understand with our material intelligence and our material senses. So let us see what he is saying. So he is saying, by me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So when he is saying unmanifested form, Krishna is explaining that his form is present everywhere, but it is unmanifest to us or to our material senses. So with our material senses, we will not be able to understand Krishna's form. And Srila Prabhupada explains with this verse, which he is quoting from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu in the purport. It's a very famous verse. Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavet grayam indriye sevonmukhe hi jivvadav swayam eva spuratyadaha. So this verse is explaining that Atah Shri Krishna Namadi, that Krishna's name, holy name, na bhavet grahyam indriya. With this material senses that we have, it is difficult to understand and realize the holy name of the Supreme Lord. So we will say that, oh Krishna, so by this materially chanting that I am doing, it is not possible to actually know Krishna's name, then why should I chant? That is mentioned in the second part. Sevon mukhehi jivvado swayam eva spuratyadaha. So even though it is said that these materially contaminated senses, we are not able to understand and realize Krishna's name, it is said that Sevon Mukhehi Jivado, by this tongue, if we keep using that in Krishna's service in two ways. One, by chanting the holy name with it, and by eating only prasadam. If we keep doing that, then what will happen? Swayam eva spuratyadaha. We will get purified and then we will actually realize the holy name properly. So same is true for Krishna as well. His form is unmanifested because we are trying to look at him using our material senses. But if we keep serving him with our senses, then we will get purified and then we will get this eyes which is full of love. And that is what Srila Prabhupada continues and mentions just below that verse, he says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. So he's quoting Brahma Samhita, that how we can see Krishna is not with these material eyes, but with the eyes of love. So one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda always within himself and outside himself if one has developed the transcendental loving attitude towards him. So pure devotee is quite interesting. A pure devotee sees Krishna everywhere. Actually, Krishna is present everywhere. A pure devotee is able to see him everywhere, but a materialist is not able to see Krishna anywhere. And we have to actually go from this place where we are not seeing Krishna anywhere to seeing Krishna everywhere. And it's a journey. And we will be on this path somewhere because we are practicing devotees. So we will start, at least in the beginning, some people will not even see Krishna in the deity form, but at least the devotees, practicing devotees, they will start seeing Krishna in the deity form. They will start seeing Krishna in prasadam form. They will start slowly realizing Krishna in his holy name, this transcendental sound vibration. They will have faith in this words of scriptures which are coming from him or from his devotees. So slowly that will increase. So that is showing some purification that is happening. Sevon mukhehi jivado swayam eva spuratyadaha. So it is showing that we are going on the right track, right path. So by me in my unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded, which is true that Krishna as Paramatma, he's in everyone, every living entity. He is also even going into even the smallest of atom. So in his unmanifest form, he is everywhere in this material world and the spiritual world, everywhere. All beings are in me. That is referring to that we are all dependent on Krishna, somehow or the other. But I am not in them. So that is saying that I am not dependent on any of you. So Krishna, we are dependent on everything that we, in this world, material world, spiritual world, everything that we get is from Supreme Lord. That is why we are completely dependent. But he is not dependent on us at all. Now let us look at, now he, in the next verse, he will completely contradict to what he said now. Nacha matsthani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaryam bhuta bhrunnacha bhutastho mamatva bhuta bhavanaha. Yes, Vibhur Prabhuji.
And yet
Then, sorry.
everything,
Yeah, and then the next one, Tripti Mataji, you can do, and Uma Vidushi Mataji, you can do the next one. Yes, Vibhur.
and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence, although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Did you see this contradiction? Earlier he said that, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. And now he's saying, yet everything that is created does not rest in me. He said everything is in me, and now he's saying everything does not rest in me. Why he is saying like that? So this means that he's aloof. He is not attached to anything that he's doing. So he's aloof from all this material creation, and everything is just happening by his will, which he explains, his will part, he explains little later in the verses. And to explain this concept that how everyone is dependent on him and they also have some independence, that he explains in the next verse. Probably we'll just do that verse and then we will stop looking at the time. So let's do verse number 6 as well. Yathakashasthito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matsthanitya upadharaya.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, please.
Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me.
Yeah, so here an example he's giving. What kind of example he's mentioning? He's saying that just like this sky, you can imagine as a bowl which is upside down. And inside that there is wind. Like sky is like a bowl, and inside that there is wind. And the wind has independence to go anywhere. It can go in this direction, that direction, up, down, left, right, everywhere it can go. But it still has a limit. It is limited within that the limit of that sky. So similarly, here in this material world, in a way that we are independent, that we can do this activity, we can do that activity, all of that is possible, but still there is a limit that is there within that framework that Lord Shri Krishna has done for us. And that is how we are completely dependent on Krishna, but at the same time we have some independence. So this is what this analogy that Krishna has given is explaining. That although all living entities are within Krishna and we are completely dependent on him, how we still have some independence. So yeah, we'll stop here. Some of these points that I was explaining, they are on this slide. So the first 4 points that we have already covered from this slide. So he pervades the entire universe in his unmanifest form. All beings are in him, but he is not in them. Everything does not rest in him, which he had just mentioned. And he is aloof from all this material creation, and everything happens just by his will, which he will explain a little later. And the remaining points we will see in the next few verses. It's already 8:30, so we will stop here. And then if there are any questions, comments, reflections, then we'll take now. Any questions, comments, or summary points, reflections?
Prabhu, what's the meaning of dharma? Perfection?
It is the perfection of religion.
Perfection of
Religion.
religion. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Any reflections or any summary points, comments, questions? Or you haven't
Krishna
understood anything
Prabhuji.
from today?
I
Hare
can.
Krishna.
Yes, Tripti Mataji.
Or somebody else said it, Hare Krishna, but I.
Somebody else also. Oh, Margi Mataji, you also said something?
Yes.
Okay, you can mention few points and then we can go to Tripti Mataji.
I simply wanted to share that today I got the importance of devotee association. I
Very nice.
always used to talk to Vidhi about this, but today through this verse I can understand it better, that
Yes,
how devotee association helps. As you mentioned in the Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in the slok that it improves our faith in Krishna.
absolutely. And this is
So
also the benefit of one devotee, like one family members become a devotee. Then automatically, slowly, what happens? The entire family looking at, if we set a good example in front of others, slowly the entire family will become Krishna conscious. And that is how Margi Mataji, you are also getting influenced by her talking about Krishna.
yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Very nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Trupti Mataji, you were saying something.
Yeah, as a summary point, what I have got is the chapter 7 and 9 are quite similar, but the key difference in chapter 9 is where it's talked about most confidential knowledge, which is unalloyed bhakti. Qualification to receive this knowledge, there are two things which are mentioned. One, we have to be non-envious of Krishna, and the other is we should have faith in him.
Very nice.
So one thing is give up envy for Krishna and hear more and more about him. And I like the example which you gave, like lots of times we ourselves, get envious of our friends and how we relate to try to demotivate the other person talking about them. So why it is important to be not envious of
Yes,
Krishna
yes.
and then follow. 9.34, the third, the last one of this and the last shloka of the Bhagavad Gita are almost same, you mentioned.
Yes.
So that's very good. And in the second verse,
Not
there
the
are eight.
last shloka of this chapter,
Yes.
9.34, which is the last shloka of this chapter, and 18.65.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
see offline how even the Sanskrit of the 3/4 of the verse is exactly same. Yeah, very good. Okay,
Yeah.
let us give chance to others to share. Sudananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
The second verse, so we learned about how the glories of this confidential knowledge. So the 8 things Krishna talked about: Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, Pavitram, Uttamam, Pratyaksha Avagamanam, Dharmyam,
Tekshaavagamam.
Susukam, Pratyaksha Avagamam. Yes. Dharmyam, Susukam, and Avyaya.
Yeah, very nice. Okay. Raghavendra Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. So
Done.
the point that stuck with me today is the actual benefit you get while doing the devotional service. It could be as soon as taking out the prarabdhas that's happening now, as well as falnamukta. I haven't got the word right. Is that
Falonamukha.
Falonamukha? Sorry,
Yeah.
Falonamukha.
Unmukha. Phala Unmukha. That is the Unmukha means it is just going to be actually going to fructify. So Phala Unmukha. Phala Unmukha.
Then Kuta and Bija. So all this can be washed away with our devotional service.
Yeah, with devotional service, the sinful reactions get completely vanquished. Yes. Janaki Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. It was a
Yeah.
nice lecture. I just wanted to know that 4 kind of prarabdha, like first is kuta, prarabdha. So I just want you to repeat that.
Oh, so there are 4 stages of the sinful reactions that we talked about. One is bija. Bija means in the seed form, the reactions are. And the second stage is kuta. Kuta means it is the sinful tendencies that we create by doing the same thing again and again. So that is kuta. And then, which is the sinful reaction. Bija is in the seed form, of course. Kuta is a little bit bigger, it has become. Then this aprarabdha or falon mukha, which we were talking about just with Raghavendra Prabhuji, which is even more manifested. And then it is the prarabdha, which is actually what we are experiencing now. But all these 4 stages of sinful reactions can be completely removed if we do devotional service.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments,
Prabhu, you
reflections?
explain about the Shraddha, Sadhusang, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav and Prem. You start the
very
love with Shraddha to Prem.
correct. Very nice. Very good. Anyone else has any other summary points, reflections, questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Parminder Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, it's very hard to understand Krishna. There are like so many definitions. But I reckon the point that I like, which other devotees also mentioned, is like love for Krishna. It's not being envious to him. It means love, I reckon. And then the other points you put it in
So it is
there.
hard to know Krishna by our material senses, but what should we do then to know him?
Start the process that you follow. It start with initial love that goes into, and then
No, it doesn't start with
devotee.
love, Prabhuji. That ends in love. That is our final goal.
Initial, what do you describe
Shraddha.
one word? Shraddha, Prabhuji. So
Yes,
Shraddha,
faith. It starts with faith.
and then Sadhu Sangha,
Yeah,
and then like with Sadhu Sangha, we'll get to know him more.
Yes.
And then it goes into Nishtha finally, and then love, Guruji.
Yes, yes, good. So what we were mentioning, or what I was looking for, was that with this materially contaminated senses that we have, it is difficult to realize the Supreme Lord. But Krishna has given this simple process of bhakti in which you are, even though these material senses are contaminated, with those senses, if we start serving the Supreme Lord, which is the process of bhajana kriya, then automatically we get purified and we come to the stage of love over a period of time. And that was what the Atah Shri Krishna Namadi verse that we talked about in was mentioning. That even though it is not possible to understand Krishna with this material senses, if we keep using the material senses, especially there it was talking about the chanting of the holy name, how we can understand and realize the holy name, that just use our tongue to vibrate the holy name and to eat Krishna Prasad, and then Sevon Mukhehi Jivado Swayam Eva Spuratyadaha. So the holy name will reveal itself, and because we will get purified. Okay,
Thank
good.
you, Guruji.
Sudharma Mataji, you had your hand up.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, just was about to say that which you have already said.
Oh, okay.
Your tongue, like we started,
Yeah.
like tasting prasadam and chanting, using the first senses to actually, and also Premanjana Churita, looking at the deity's form, we are able to get devotion.
Yeah, very nice, Mataji. Thank
Thank
you. Okay, we'll take the last point and then we will close. Tripti Mataji.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Okay.
While chanting the mantra, we are activating our, like, we are doing through the material senses, like what we have right now. This is the conscious mind. How does it tap into our unconsciousness? Because we are, we are more than the body. So how does it go beyond our the six senses the five senses which we have?
Yeah. So the question is that just this material senses that we have, by which we are actually chanting the name, and with the material ears we are hearing the name, then how it reaches the spirit soul, right? Yeah, it's a good question. See, how it works is like the hearing sense is very powerful. When we are sleeping, at that time as well, everything else is dormant, but our hearing is still active. And that is why the alarm clock works. We can't wake up using this the sense of smell. We can't wake up with other
Very
like
nice, no?
so so that is how the sense of hearing is very powerful and potent. So just like it works on a sleeping body, it also works on the sleeping soul. But the only difference is that this sound vibration is not the alarm clock. Alarm clock only works for the sleeping body, but will require some transcendental sound vibration, which has to penetrate the ear, and then it goes to our heart, and then it will reach our spirit soul. So the spirit soul is, as we are saying, it is spiritual, and to awaken it, we require some spiritual sound vibration. If it was some ordinary sound vibration, by which it will not wake up. But because we are having this transcendental sound vibration, that is why it is working. It is the same thing as prasadam. It is the same thing as how it works for prasadam. That prasadam, what happens is, if it is an ordinary food that we were eating, then it wouldn't have any effect for purifying ourselves. But when we are eating Krishna Prasad, which is the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and it is Krishna in the prasadam form, and when we eat that our body gets purified, the tongue gets purified, our mind also gets purified. And how the mind is getting purified by eating Krishna Prasad? That mind is contaminated with Sattva, Raja, Tama, mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And by eating Krishna Prasad, this Tamogun is going, this passion is going, and the goodness is also going, and then we get pure goodness. So slowly, slowly that gets purified. So even though it is in a so-called way, we will say that it is the material, just the same rice is there, right? It is the matter. It is the same rice that we are eating before as well, which was not Krishna Prasad. And now same rice we are eating afterwards as well. Same halwa which we are eating before, same halwa now. But we are only seeing the gross matter that is there with our material eyes. But when we offer it to Krishna, then there is that spiritual ingredient that gets added and it becomes spiritual. And because of that spiritual prasadam going inside, our material senses are getting purified. And same happens with the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra as well, that because it is spiritual, even though it is going through the material senses, it can awaken the bhakti that is there. Because the bhakti is not external, it is already within us. When we say the process of yoga, we say that it is not that we are connecting Krishna like the soul to the Supreme Lord. We say we are reconnecting. We are reconnecting the soul with the Supreme Lord. And that is that reconnection process. That means it is already there. We have just somehow or the other covered it. We have to just uncover it and then we'll be okay. So we are awakening the sleeping soul by this alarm clock of transcendental sound of chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna.